welcome to our Africa Tech segment. Now, investing in tech startups can come with a lot of risks that most investors don't like to take, especially locally. However, many investors who dare have come to realize it can be very rewarding. In fact, very rewarding adventure, provided that the idea meets everyday needs and it is very innovative. In recent time, mobile technology and innovations such as cloud computing, the sharing economy, and Bitcoin have helped other intending tech startup investors see that there is actually so much potentials in tech startups. Now, joining us to discuss the risks and the potentials of investing in tech startups is Oladipo Fashoro, is managing partner of investment advisory at Magrena Limited. Thank you so much for making our time to speak to us on Network Africa.
You're welcome.
Yeah. First, let me ask you, help us define what a tech startup is. Because sometimes some people get it wrong, and that not being able to define what your business is and what stage it is can also help you, in quotes, get it wrong.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, a tech startup is a business or a venture, right, that is targeted towards a specific challenge or a specific problem, and it must also come with a lot of innovation and let me say passion and ambition, basically, right? It's as you said, people confuse it with typical businesses, right? Maybe, for example, you call yourself an entrepreneur, and then you start a trade business, or you're selling something
online, and then you call yourself a tech startup.
Yeah, and you call yourself a tech startup. Basically, you need to be able to have a defined market, right? And you must also have goals of scalability. What do I mean by that? You say, for example, that a startup, a company like Facebook, right, which all of us know, right? When it was a startup, defined as a startup, it was basically started in a university, right? Just with a couple students and stuff. But then scalability and passion was really behind what was the vision for Facebook. So you can realize that in like a year or two, it started to move from campus to campus to campus, then from country to country. Now it's reputed that Facebook is the biggest country in the world, right, with over 1.23 billion people, right, on Facebook. So basically, as a startup,
as a tech startup.
Yeah, as a tech startup. Yeah, as a tech. No, for being a tech startup, right. Your drive or whatever your business or your venture has to have a lot of tech components in it. Basically, if you give an example of a very promising venture in Nigeria, let's give an example of Iroko TV. For example, Iroko TV set out to sort or to solve the distribution problem of Nollywood movies in Nigeria and also in the world globally. Of course, we know a whole lot of issues about Nollywood, piracy, people that invest in resources not getting their money, but they have return on investment for that. So Jason Njoku, who was the founder or the co-founder of Iroko TV, set up to do that and to use tech to solve the problem of distribution and delivery of that, and then delivering value for the.
So you mentioned two things, basically, innovation and a lot of tech components.
Yeah.
Now, you have consulted for a lot of tech startups, helped them to find investors and all of that. Before I begin to ask the major question most of our viewers want answered, which is how can they get, especially local investors, to buy into the idea? Let me ask you, how large can these startups get? And what is their probability for growth and expansion?
Well, as I said, one of the key components of startups is scalability, right? Actually, there's no limit to how big a startup can get. Of course, when it gets that big, of course, you probably won't call it a startup anymore, right? But of course, it started as a startup, So there are a lot of there's no limit to where a startup can get to. As regards, sorry, let me get your first question.
That's the only question.
Okay,
I was going to ask you the other one. So just
the
one I'm asking you is how big can these startups get? Because if I am an investor right now, I want to know what the idea you're pitching to me, if it's ever going to be bigger, if I'm ever going to recoup my money. So, I mean, is there a limit to the to the viability of this startups?
Of course, startups are bound by every other thing.
Again, tech startups.
Yeah,
I beg your pardon.
tech startups are bound by every other thing that affects every business.
Okay.
Right? Because you call yourself a tech startup doesn't mean that you are immune from every challenge, for example, that other businesses face. And let's bring it locally, Nigeria. Right? We give. Let's give an example of e-commerce companies. Right? Konga, Jumia, and all sorts. One of the major challenges that they have is delivery, right, and then payments, right. So they were able to come up with a scheme called Pay on Delivery, right, because a lot of people are like, oh, fine, you guys are new business, we don't know you, we don't know, we give you our money, we don't know whether you're going to bring goods and so. So they decided to come up with an innovative solution that says, okay, fine, don't worry, we get the goods to you.
Okay.
Right, and then you do that, and then you bring back. I mean, then you pay for that. Now, a Jumia or a Konga, over the past 3 or 4 years that they've been around, they've been able to raise monies in $10 million, $20 million, $30 million,
okay,
right, to run their businesses, and and they're making a whole lot of money as well. Of course, there are a whole lot of other ones that are not doing that, but it's a general business thing. Basically.
Finally, let me ask you. So, as an investor, what is an investor looking for when they decide, or when they're about to decide to invest into a tech startup?
Okay. Basically, investors want to look out for the people behind the startup, right? They want to look at...
Are they looking at the idea?
No, yeah, of course. They'll look at the idea, but not very well the ideas are, just everywhere, really. It's not really about the idea, it's about the execution. Right. So the people that would execute the idea are more important. If you think of something right now, just anything basically, if you go online and Google it, you'll probably find out somebody else has been, has even maybe written a whole article about it. Really, there's really nothing new under the sun anymore. It's just improvements on things, and then people being able to execute things more than other people. Facebook, for example, is a social network. It's a social network.
You're in love with Facebook,
no,
but that's fine.
I'll give. I just want to use that because it's the biggest one, right? So it's a social network.
Yeah.
Right. There've been social networks before Facebook. There's been i5, there's been MySpace, even Yahoo as an internet giant, for example. Well, they're having a whole lot of issues right now, But there are some other companies that are in the same business, right, and they're doing way better.
So Ladipo Fashero, it is about the people behind the idea and the execution. That's what an investor is looking for.
Yeah, looking for.
I mean, they're likely to put down their money if they see that the guys behind the idea, they're serious and they're willing and able to execute their ideas.
And then, of course, they also have to present their business, right, in a way that, for us tech people, basically, we are very... passionate about the idea itself.
Okay.
Right, you just want to talk about the cool things, what you do. But an investor is really not, if a tech guy wants to pitch maybe this iPad to you now, you probably say, you can swipe this way and swipe that way.
They don't want to hear that. They just want to see how you're going to do it. All right. Oladipo Fashero, thank you so much for speaking to us on Network Africa. He is the managing partner of investment advisory at McGrenor Limited. I hope you learned 1 or 2 things right there. Now let's move on to other stories. Smartphone users will now be able to help feed the hungry around the world with just a tap on their mobile phone, thanks to the Share the Meal app developed by the United Nations World Food Program and launched in countries around the world. The WFP launched the Share the Meal app. It was initially introduced in June 2015 in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland as a pilot program. And thus far, 120,000 people have downloaded the app, raising $850,000 US, providing 1.7 million school meals to children in Lesotho, the app's first fundraising target.
Easy and so simple, and we have so many possibilities they don't have, so it's just one thing to push the button, and you can help someone, and that's a good thing.
Make it as easy as possible for people to do good, in essence. So think of the situation that you're having lunch or dinner, and you may go through your emails or your news, and there's a button and you can press that button, and you share your food with a child that has nothing to eat. So practically speaking, you press the button, $50 cents go to the United Nations World Food Programme, and with these 50 cents, the UN can feed one child for one day. And in the app, we show you where the children are and what our progress is towards ending hunger.
Amazing, isn't it? And let's quickly take you through your responses. We asked you what are your thoughts about the newly sworn in ministers and their portfolios just yesterday, and you responded. Hafiz Omeza said, my concern is not whether the new ministers will work or not, but the quality and durability of their contributions. Chukwemego Onyekachi said the portfolio that was allocated to Fashola is the best, and he is a man we need to look out for. Well, that's your feedback on Twitter. Thank you so much for sending them in. Now, my question of the day for the rest of the weekend for you is, have you created any app, software, or technology that solves everyday problems in Africa? Well, find us right now on Twitter at @Josh. Well, find me right there, and also send your response to networkafrica@channelstv.com. We would love to know what those apps, software, or whatever technology it is that you have created is. Just send it right now. Thank you so much for watching the program. I am @Josh. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next week.